It's helpful when it's time for you to come live or go live and broadcast this wonderful face of mine that I push the right buttons. No, it's not the day to do that. Real quick, so you may notice I have headphones on. I'll explain that in a second. But let me fix this. Unfortunately, so again, giant storms, I get a new roof. So the roofers are here. Funny thing is they were already scheduled to come here anyway. We already had them scheduled. So the big, terrible storms blowing through was convenient. Anyway, so if you hear loud banging, my dog barking at people in the backyard, people falling off my roof, that's why. It's also why I'm a little discombobulated, but only part of the reason. As I mentioned, I am wearing headphones for a reason. And that's because I have a special guest today. That would be someone, I know you're going to love this guy. He's someone that you may have seen once or twice. It's Tex from Texas Front Porch.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Howdy, Tex. Real quick, Titan. Yes, I also happened to be listening to that episode yesterday. And I did see your comment. I actually completely agree with you that the church needs to. I think the problem is, as Protestants, the Catholic Church, because it did become a political organization, we rejected all of that. And in doing so, we threw the baby out with the bathwater. As we've continued to break apart into smaller and smaller groups, we've lost the ability to really come together across denominations and say, hold up, these are our disagreements, these are internal disagreements, but we do need to stand as a block to make certain things happen, right? To fight for, at this point, even the right to believe in science. Let's be honest, that's where we're headed. So, yeah, I would completely agree with you. I think that, and I do think I know the gentlemen well enough on that show that they would agree with you as well. Just saying. I mean, I'm not a mind reader, but I think that they might agree with you. I've never found a morel mushroom. I don't know that I could tell the difference between a morel and all the others. So, I mean, I know they look different, but I don't know that I'd be walking around being like, oh, look, that's a morel mushroom. I just wouldn't. So, okay. I know in our normal Bible study, tonight is the night we get to the sin of Ham. I know you're all looking forward to talking about it. However, I wasn't feeling up to it today. And I'm going to be honest, some things have been in my head, since our trip out to Brown Springs. And some other things that we've talked about off air have sort of come to light and really, really solidified some thoughts that I had. And then what really did it was Tex shared an episode of Bigfoot Odyssey. I think most of y'all have probably even seen it. It's been around for a while. It had been like I had completely forgotten about it, and then he reshared it to me. And some things that he said really put a lot of things back into sync for me. Ham can always wait. It sounds like, never mind. I'm gonna. That's his problem. He didn't. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about that because I think there's some things that we can talk about that my big takeaways that I think slide differently than say on Monday shows, right? I think there's some aspects that we can definitely have a conversation with it because we do try to stay not neutral in any stretch of the imagination, but we want to be more scientific. We do want to say this is as far as we can go, that kind of thing. So yeah, we're gonna have a conversation tonight that we probably wouldn't normally have on Monday show, and really explore some things because I got some questions in my head that I don't know what to do with. I'm gonna be honest. So we're going to talk.
It's Gary's fault we're having this conversation because he sent me the video.
Gary, I should have known. Anyway, so before we kick this off,
money was the root of all evil, but it's not. It's Gary.
It's Gary. No, it's Gary. It's always Gary. Gary. And here's the thing. Normally it's Paco. Paco's not in tonight, so normally it's Paco is the one causing all the trouble. And tonight's Gary. It had to be him. So we're going to pray, and then we're going to talk. We're going to start this conversation. I honestly don't know where it's going to go. I have no idea where this is going to go, how tonight's going to flush out. Two bits of news before we go uh, to the story. No, it's not Pepsi. It's a Zevia. It is a 0-calorie, 0-sugar cola replacement. I have my addictions. So point one. So we're getting, I think next week is when we'll be doing our normal, sending money to Alan Day. So if y'all have anything you can send this month, that would be great. Y'all did wonderful last month, and he is helping out a family of kids whose father walked out on him. Aside from all the other things that he's helping and doing, and he's really, in fact, they've got more people than they have chairs now. His church is growing. They're ministering to people, but specifically there's a family of kids. The oldest is 15. Their father walked out on them to go be with another family. Their mother had already, of course, he did that after the mother died. I mean, really wonderful man this gentleman turned out, this gentleman was. So Alan is helping these children, as much as it can, with the money we're sending. So again, this is one of those cases where $10, $20, you PayPal it to me, I send it myself, I cover all those fees. But you, like I said, $10, $20 means so much more to them than it means to a lot of people, honestly. And like I said, y'all have done amazing things, and I am humbled to be a part of it. I really am. He's got, and there's some things I can't say about what he's going through right now. I'm going to be honest. This was a big week for him in a lot of ways, because there's some stuff going on, and unfortunately, this is one of those conversations you just can't have in public. It's not him; like, he's not in trouble, but there are some people in that area, and some of these other churches, man. It's been a hard week for him. I'll say that. It's been a hard week, but he's a good man, and he is doing some good hard work. And like I said, you can look and say $5 doesn't matter at all. Your $5 matters to Alan, and it matters to the people he's feeding, and it matters to the people whom he is ministering to. And I genuinely believe he is going to be a voice in that area that's going to cause some real change, and maybe even start helping some people. Because I'm going to be honest, man, where he's at, it's ugly. It's not pretty. So that's the first bit. Again, anything helps. Literally everything helps. But again, if you can't, we completely understand. Like, ain't none of us rich here. So, but anything can happen. Second bit of news. So we're going to do 2, I guess, hangouts is what we call them, right? Where we just sit back. It's going to be this Saturday and then next Saturday. But here's why. I have some friends. Well, definitely the first one's going to be this Saturday, no matter what happens. Some friends of mine that I used to do the other show with on church that I used to go to. We would do their Wednesday night stuff. They're going to come and hang out on my show. We are going to be talking about some really interesting topics. And so it's going to be a hangout. We're going to talk about some really interesting theological topics and take your questions. But here's the thing. If they end up doing an outside service for Mother's Day, then we'll have to move it because they're going to be setting up for that. So it just depends on how the weathers are going to go. If they do set up the chairs, then we'll probably move it to another day. But I will still be here no matter what. We will have a hangout. It'll be 7 o'clock on Saturday. So 7 p.m. I will make certain that the link is sent out. So 7 p.m. Saturday, no matter what. I'm going to be here taking questions. I may have friends, or I may be bacheloring it. It just depends on how we do it, on how the weather goes. So that's it. But that's all the news I have for now. So remember Alan in our prayers. And if you can, he'd love to, anything that you can give is greatly appreciated. And again, hang out on Saturday. Let's open with some prayer, and then we're going to have a conversation. I honestly don't know where it's going to go. And I think those are the best kind. Heavenly Father, we thank you and we praise you for all that you've done. Father, we thank you that you're moving today. Your spirit is moving. We know it. We know that as dark as the world will get, it only means that you will shine brighter. We know that this is not a safe world. It's a world full of evil. Some we've created, some we've inherited, but all has to be fought. Father, give us the wisdom to fight evil, the strength to do it, and the courage to stand. Let us know how we should do this. Don't let us fall blindly into prideful traps or trying to play the hero, but rather to follow your spirit and your will. Heavenly Father, we thank you that you've given us the ability to come together to even speak to one another, so that we can have this conversation. Father, we know that you're raising up and moving an army to do great things, to help people, to free people from the shackles that enslave them, from their addictions, from their pains, and yes, from their literal demons. Father, help tonight to be a night that grants us wisdom, favor, and planning, so we can endure what is to come. It's in your Son's most heavenly name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so let us set... I don't want to rehash what we did on Monday, because there was a lot that was talked about. And I think most everyone on this channel has seen it, so I don't feel like we need to rehash all of it, but I do think we should probably hit the highlights, right? Brown Springs, a phenomena that has been seen numerous times, and this was even mentioned on the Bigfoot Odyssey episode that we talked about, and whose link is in the description below now. Large figures seen through a fire, right? That's happened numerous times to you. It happened to Gary Sr. It happened to Mr. Barton. Eye shine, but again, large, dark figure. And again, let me put that in quotation marks, eye shine. Because let's be honest, if there isn't a physical creature there, it's not really eye shine. But again, large, dark figures. These figures were smaller that attacked Junior and Senior. Again, innumerable times y'all have got, the spirit box was talking. There was a lot of paranormal activity. Even when I was my first trip out, when I slept in I say dream, I can only imagine it was a dream, but the problem is I don't really remember my dreams. I saw the field. I saw 3 figures made out of fire. Now, it was about that same time that you had 2 shadow human figures walking behind our cars. So a lot of familiar things going on there, and a lot of the same things. And one of the big conclusions I walked away with was, I'm still out there saying there's a physical Bigfoot, but I'm thinking that a lot of times we have a lot of these stories that we walk away saying it's Bigfoot because it was a dark figure and quote unquote eye shine. It was tall and massive, and it's my assumption now that if that's what we have, then we don't really have Bigfoot. What we have is something else. Like I said, I also something that's come up a lot. Amy and Laney caught that hooded figure. Mark Barton talked about hooded figures, and there are plenty of accounts of hooded figures being found out in weird places in the woods.
Not just hooded figures, small hooded figures, and they disappear, they reappear. I mean, these are things that are all seen in Brown Springs. Mark Barton talked about it with his encounter. Other people have talked about them in other paranormal encounters. I don't want this to be. Let me preface this with the Mark Barton episode. I do think it's worth a listen. I do think it is an interesting piece to the puzzle. I don't want to take everything that he is telling us at face value, not because I doubt him at all, right? I'm not questioning him. I'm questioning what he was told. Because the one thing that occurs to me is that these creatures are apparently living off of fear. Or not maybe, but they enjoy fear. Vic Cundiff told us that with these dogmen. it is common in all of my work with people who have suffered from sleep paralysis and these demonic figures, right? Is that the idea of fear being something that they're attracted to or they feed off of. So I don't necessarily know that we can take everything that he was told as true. I do think a lot of it was true, though. I absolutely do. And again, I do think he had that encounter. So this is not me. Like I said, don't take this as Mark Barton bashing time. I am not in any stretch of the imagination bashing him at all. I think his encounter is amazing. Is the wrong term. I think it was very, very accurate. I just don't think that we should trust everything that comes out of the mouth of an interdimensional demon, and I'm going to use that word. Now, you know what? Devil's a better word, because demon, that's a disembodied spirit of the Nephilim, right? But devils, on the other hand, that is not a demon. That's something else. That's higher. It's more powerful. Now, so I just want that as sort of a framework, and it's something that there's some things that Tex and I discussed off air. I don't want to air them because, again, that's I don't want it to be like, it's not gossip, but it's speculation. So I don't want to say that. What I will say is, I think Mark was out there. It was vulnerable, which is why they attacked at that time. I think there was a real reason, because he even mentioned there were things that he talked about. So I'll let his own words speak to that. But he was clearly in a vulnerable state, and they came for him. I believe that happened. I just don't think we should trust everything that these creatures said, but I do think they let a lot out. I do think, and one of the things that really occurred to me was when he said that they always hunt where they were given. And this is one of those questions we need to ask, because I have mentioned this several times, even on the Monday show, right? We don't practice in America and in the West all of the traditional rabbinic, right, teachings on how to keep demonic forces out of your house. I've tried to, and it's honestly made my life better. It really has. I've grown up. I could always hear it sounded like voices in another room, right? After I did these things, my house became very, very quiet. This is what I did. In case y'all have the same problems, I prayed ownership over the house. I, as the owner of the house, rejected and evicted in the name of Christ every entity that was there that was not of God. I anointed the post and lintels in oil, and above every exit is a Bible verse. The front door has the 10 Commandments. The back door has the numbers blessing. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So honestly, that's all I had to do. And every person that I have given that to, that practice to, they've been able to quiet their house. A lot of people have a lot of things because they've done things. They've let things in, right? So that is just something we haven't done, and that's something that I've done, and it's helped from sort of that demonic standard. But it goes back to something that he talked about, this threshold, and this idea that something that areas had been given over to these entities. And I thought about the MUFON story about the treaty with I can never remember if it's Eisenhower or Truman, right? He goes missing for like 2 or 3 days. Eisenhower, thank you. Nick Redfern, he'll tell you that couldn't have possibly happened because it makes no sense, right? He's like, it's got to be a misinformation or whatever. Most people in MUFON will tell you it absolutely happened. His granddaughter says that it happened, that she believes it absolutely occurred. Here's the thing. I would agree with Nick in that it doesn't make sense if they're aliens. It sure as the world makes sense if they're demons, though. Or again, if they're devils, if they're satanic. Let's say that. It absolutely sounds like something that a satanic force would do. So that's really where these things start looking. Yes, olive oil. Olive oil works. Here's the thing, guys. When I say I use olive oil, what I did is I just took extra virgin olive oil. I did separate some out that was individual just for this use. Prayed over it, blessed it, and it is, and whatever was left over is still in a bottle off to its side, right? There's nothing special about the oil. There's nothing special like it. Like, does Bartuli's work better than this? Or it's like, no, it's just get olive oil. It's just tradition. But I wouldn't just take the whole can. I would set a part of it out and then use the rest. You know, you're setting it apart as holy. Holiness is being set apart. That's all. However you want to do it. I honestly, it's more about the practice and it's about the faith behind it than the actual things themselves, right? So, but this goes back to the idea that devils require, the satanic forces require invitation. They really do. They always have. That's the essence of magic, right? Magic is absolutely, just wipe a little bit over your door and lintels. Magic is about allowing these entities into our realm of existence, right? It's us giving them permission to do it. So
it's like voodoo. It's more powerful. Yeah. The more you believe in it, stronger you believe in it, the more powerful it is.
Right, because you're giving them room to work. So it does seem like what has happened, and this all does tie into 411. Bruce Tenser, who we've had on your show, he's very much into 411. And there are some of these stories and some of these Facebook pages of people saying, look, guys, this happened to me and I don't know what to do with it. He's of the opinion that a lot of 411 is demonic, that people are being possessed and they're walking out. But maybe it's something like this, where they're assaulted and they're killed in the woods. I think he would have absolutely died. Mark Barton. I think he absolutely would have been killed. I do think God intervened. And he even says that's what happened. So, So my question here is, what really bothered me is, and this is a question I asked years ago. I stopped asking. Now I'm back to it again. Is Bigfoot a natural creature that's out there doing what it's doing, or are they on the side of whatever these beings are? Now,
somebody's payroll.
Yeah, are they on somebody's payroll?
Let me
start. Yeah, no, you go, please.
One thing Mark said that really struck home with me, and it's something we've discussed. In their right hand, they've got Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But what's in the left hand is left hand, they got Bigfoot. Right hand is what's really going on. It leads right back to what we've been talking about, Bigfoot being the distraction.
Yeah.
In his words, pawns.
Yeah.
And that's the part that when he said that, that's when I sent you the video.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is really hitting really close to home here.
Yeah.
And then everything that he's talking about, if it's not right on, it's very close to what we've experienced.
Exactly. Even the weight, like you and Laney were both feeling weighed down.
Right.
And he's like, this thing came up from behind him. Yeah, from the shoulders. Exactly.
Yep.
I've spoken with people who talked about seeing they call them gargoyles on people's shoulders.
Right.
Right. Psychics and those like talking about them, people who have visions, seeing like these gargoyle-like creatures just clawing onto people's shoulders and weighing them down. So, man, so the question becomes, right? Because again, I don't necessarily think we can take everything he was told at face value. Again, they're devils, they're gonna lie, and they're trying to scare him, I think, to ripen him up.
Well, that was to me, it was very James Bondish, very Batmanish. You catch your prey and you tell him your whole plan. You know,
Yeah, your whole fiendish plan. Yep.
right. And that's, if I had a problem with any of that, was it.
Yeah.
But what you just said, you know, kind of answers that. You know, they're just trying to
Yeah.
scare him and generate more of that energy.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows?
Exactly. Lamp of light. I see what you're asking. Here's my only thing about the oil. I think oil should only be anointed onto a thing or to someone else, not necessarily yourself. In this way, and only because there is the problem with any tradition and any action is that at some point it becomes an act of magic versus a act of faith. It's the proclamation of faith that matters more than anything else. If you want to do it as that's fine. I believe in anointing other things rather than myself. That's just me, but that's my 2 cents on that. So yeah, no, so much of what he said, again, it's like we've seen all of it. And so I go back to, so here's the question: are they pawns, which means are they working for them, or are they just out doing what they're doing, and these creatures are using our interest in them to draw us to them?
I think that's going to, in my opinion, I think that's what the deal is.
See, I would tend to agree.
I think these creatures are unknowingly being used.
Yeah.
Against their will, mind you. I mean,
right. They're probably just out being animals, or they're just out being Bigfoot. Like they're just out doing these things and these now. But here's the caveat to that. And this is really why it is a Bible study after all. But Revelation, I've mentioned this before. Revelation 6, verse 8, right? This is the first 4 seals, right? This is the 4th seal, which is death. So we'll start in 7. Revelation 6:7. And when he opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them, meaning both people, or, and this is another observation some people have meant, that them could mean all 4 of the horse riders, and then hell as well. And power is given unto them over the 4th part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Now, here's the thing: to kill with a sword, that's war. With hunger, that's pestilence and famine, not pestilence, famine. To kill with death, okay, maybe that's pestilence, right? Because with death is a weird phrase. But then it says with the beasts of the earth. A lot of people have wondered what that means, and the weirdness of the word therion, which is when we say the beasts of the earth, it's therion and then gi. Don't ever trust my pronunciation. I'm a Texan. Gi just means of the earth. It's literally like the ground. So that's another thing. Does it mean earth, as in those things living on the earth, like a animal, or like a lion, a tiger, a bear, oh my, or does it mean something else? We're not 100%. It's a little vague. But the word therion is really weird because it can mean, and is often translated as wild beast. It's a wild animal, but it's also metaphorically a bestial man, a savage. It's a diminutive, venomous, or dangerous animal. So the Greek word here is a little weird. And it makes me think of Isaiah when it talks about the destruction of Babylon, and it having the word there is often translated as goats, but it's not goat. It's hairy one. The thing is, the Septuagint, when the Jewish authors, the Jewish Hebrew speaking authors who were translating it into Greek, when they looked for a word, they chose a word that just means demon. And so a lot of people have said, why are they saying hairy ones? The other ones are saying demon. Well, because they're the same thing. To the Hebrew, the demons were the hairy ones. They were. Now, a lot of people have said this associates with goats. That goes back to Baphomet. It goes back to Goatman, like we were talking about. The Shadim. But that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a goat.
Right.
Does it? It just means hairy ones. So I'm thinking, man, Therion, this wild beast man, is it possible that Bigfoot just ain't on our side? Again, it doesn't matter if they're Nephilim or not. They're just not on our side. They are something. Is it possible that this is something else? Or is it just the fact that maybe devils are these hairy creatures? Again, Goat Man has shown up right here. People have seen it. There's a lot of this phenomena going on, and and I will say, I will be vague. There are people who have found, and I've heard it from more than one person, more than one researcher has found large cloven hoofed beings. In fact, on Monday show, not this last Monday, but it's like 2 months ago, we had the guys from Texas Horrors on. A horror story, not horror. Wow, that sounded really bad. That's an entirely different channel, guys. But true Texas horror stories, and they talked about getting a report of a man seeing what looked like a dog man, but with large cloven hooves. There's something else going on here, man. And the question becomes, I asked this on Monday's show. I've asked it before. Where do we draw the line between worship and interest? When does it stop being an investigation
and the thing about it is that's
them?
just it. The line is not this way. The line is like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you have to be your own judge to figure out when you're pushing the envelope just a little bit too much.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that fine line between bravery and stupidity. You know.
Yes, it is an extremely fine line. An extremely fine text-looking line.
Yeah. I've been known to jump across it, but I try to jump right back. But and you know, and I've been talking, you know, all of us have been talking off air about this. It's just because it affected all of us so profoundly. It really did. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You know, what everybody experienced out there that weekend or that week, it was just very profound. And we walked away scratching our heads, yes, but I think when we regrouped, and we go back, it's going to make us more prepared.
Well, I think we're scratching our heads, but not necessarily because we're like, well, we don't know what to make of it, but more of a, okay, we get a better idea of what we're dealing with here.
Right now,
like the broad strokes are coming. Yeah, exactly. The broad strokes are what's coming into play here.
I'm going to, and I know y'all are taking a more indirect approach to it. I'm going to be the one on the front lines. I'm going to be the stupid one. I'm going to jump across that line. Me and Gary were talking earlier. We're setting up some safety measures for when I do what I'm going to do. So we're going to try to make it as safe as possible for me.
Right.
Which normally I won't
you should.
Well, which normally I won't even do. I'll just go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the thing about it is it's gotten to where with everybody on the team, and when I say the team, I mean all three groups.
Absolutely.
I mean we have melded into one team. We really have.
No, we have, and I'm glad. And let me say this, just for I think we have. I think we've got the right combination of people who are thinking outside the box.
Right.
They're open to the experience. They're not going to simply wipe it away, but they're also Not going to believe everything not everything is Bigfoot, but not everything's paranormal either, right? It is the right group of people. I absolutely agree with that. I will say this. Look, I don't seem to get a lot of action when I go there, but I think that may just because of how I'm rolling. That having been said, there's not a lot of people looking for pterosaurs, so I need to be the one to do that. And I think I've got a better chance of probably catching one of those, either on camera or beating one into submission, than so here's my okay. Hold on. So completely off topic, but it's like I want to find them on camera. Don't get me wrong, but if I find a dead body of one, I'm absolutely taking. I'm going to take a trash bag with me. That having been said, I am honestly worried that if I find one, that they may be able to project some sort of a phosphorescent acid or fire or something. Like, there's a lot of people who've talked about the rope and being bioluminescent. The idea that these creatures, that some of these ghost lights are actually pterosaurs, like that's been a long held theory. You know what? And I go back to you get the creature, the Van Meter visitor that everyone described like a giant pterosaur. It talked about a horn. Well, everyone has it coming out of the head like a unicorn, but I'm like, guys, you don't know that, if you saw it and it had a thing coming out the back, you'd call it a horn that lit up and shot light rays at people. I'm like, geez, what? I want to get these things on camera because what the heck are these things packing? Like, I have a story that I wrote about a guy who's out there trying to catch these things, catches one, and the punchline of the short story is that the creature frees itself from the net by spitting fire and roasting the guy alive, and that's how it escapes. So don't get me wrong, I'm only 75% worried about that. But so yeah, pterosaurs, that's a thing. No one's looking for them, so I might as well. That having been said, let's bring it back to on topic here.
Yeah, well, I do want to say I think it's important that, and I think it's been very important that you've been there.
Yeah.
Because, okay, when we went up there, I think it was our second trip out there, and with the whole witches and everything else.
Yeah. Now I say that I did get that same feeling that Gary Senior got. Like, right. Yeah, that is.
You had no idea what we were dealing with. We weren't in contact.
Yeah.
So something was going on there.
I do. Yeah. No, I absolutely. Like I said, my feeling was that I was not safe at all.
And you were a mile and a half away from us.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So, I think it's definitely you're a cog in the machine, and I think it's and you got a bunch of gears put together. You pull one, it don't work.
Yeah,
and I think it's very important for all of us to remain what we are. Mm-hmm. It's so weird because it just kind of fell into place that way.
Yeah.
It's really strange because all the people that fell into place and combined to make this group that we've came up with, you can't call it luck.
No. We're like the Voltron of paranormal researchers.
So it's
go Trinity Para-Cryptid Research.
Yeah,
go.
I have a feeling that something drastic or dramatic or very profound is going to happen the next time, because the way we're going to approach things.
Mm-hmm.
And I might be totally off base. I don't know. If these things are a step ahead of us, Maybe they know what's coming, and maybe they'll lay low that night. I don't know.
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
But I'm going to poke that bear and poke that bear and poke that bear, and we'll see, what wakes him up. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, but this goes back to it does beg the question though. Then how do we know what we're getting when we get there?
Right.
And then because this really is this is a legitimate question. I like the idea that there is a physical Bigfoot running around, but that they're just out there doing their thing, right? That's all they are. I think these devils, and I like the term devil, because demons, again, we've already established on the channel what a demon is. So devils, they are higher, they are more powerful, they are more. But I think we need to look at them as shadim. I think these are creatures that are given locations that have power, and that allows them to do things, right? And that does seem to follow suit, right? These shahadim, these devils are rooted in an area. People come to them, and they're feeding off of fear. Maybe they are killing and taking them. But now we got to look more at missing 411 and start asking the question: how much of this is a national parks thing? Because again, Brown Spring, even though it's Indian territory, right? Technically,
yes,
that's still that's still a legal designation. So, yeah, no, that's fine. Titan, yes, you have my permission. That's perfectly fine. Go ahead and post it in the chat there.
And I'll tell you something I think that may have enhanced everything and I don't know, but if these things feed off of energy, think about, and if that place is the way it is because of the running water, the limestone, blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff that we talked about,
right?
The night before those bad storms come through.
Yeah.
I mean, that's energy overload.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is rain? I mean, rain is running water. It's running. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's moving water. And
then
you're in a storm. It's electrically charged. The air is electrically charged.
Exactly. That was my point. In the night that you and I and Randy went out, we had huge high winds, lots of clouds. Those clouds are creating an energy imbalance, an electron imbalance, which is where you get lightning. So
and what happened that night?
Yeah, and again, that may be part of it, or may have. But here's the worst part: is maybe it has nothing to do with it. And the worst part is I don't know that we have a way of testing that. I don't know that we have a way of necessarily, because it's our assumption. Because here's the thing, right? It's our assumption that electricity, energy is something that allows these things to feed,
right,
or manifest more. That's an assumption on our part. It may have nothing to do with it,
but
it's just a thought.
But that's part of the puzzle that we have to take with us, even if it doesn't.
Oh, absolutely.
Fit, because we have to assume that if we go out there, when we plan to go out there, if we have storms move through the area, we have to gear ourselves for amped up activity.
Yeah.
If we don't, we're foolish.
Oh, absolutely. No, I completely agree with that. And I think also the idea is that something we should probably play with as well is creating, because so for me, I think the letting them come to us mentality, again, I don't think we're gonna. I'm kind of done with Bigfoot in that area.
Right.
Whatever's there is not Bigfoot. It's something else. If Bigfoot may blow through from time to time, but I think we can reject one of them coming up to sneak food. Right. That was always my plan. Was for Bigfoot to show up and do all that. That's sort of out the door. What we need to worry about now, or not worry about, I think we need to worry or can
the thing we need to concern ourselves of, focus on for the base camp is protecting it spiritually. Having a more is actually making it a safe place. And maybe that means we don't camp out there. Maybe we need to pick some place else to camp. And then everyone comes in to Brown Springs. Because I'm going to be honest, I think Mark Barton is alive by the grace of God. I think they were trying to kill him. Again, I think everything they told him was to get him scared so they could kill him in the maximum fear, right? And so much of what he described, y'all encountered, and you yourself felt. You and Laney were both being pushed down. So I'm saying, maybe y'all got luckier than you realized. So I think this is something I think Brown Springs is something that should be considered very, very differently. And absolutely, this is something to be concerned of. This is no longer a Bigfoot research area that has some weird stuff happening. The weird stuff is real and it's malevolent. And here's the worst part. It also seems like the phenomena has ramped itself up.
Yes.
As time has gone on.
Yes.
That may also be something that we need to consider, is if things are ramping up, this could be legitimately more dangerous than you realize.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm going to make certain, the base camp's going to be a freaking, mobile tabernacle when I'm there. So it's, here's the thing. If that kills the vibe, then okay. I'm not going to apologize for that. But that may be the thing, if it kills the vibe, it kills the vibe. But man, I think this may be escalating.
That tells us something either way.
Well, I don't know that it tells us any more than we already know. What we're dealing with there is, this is not a natural thing that we're dealing with. But
it does tell us that we can affect it.
Okay, that's fair. That is fair. And you know what? That is a good point, because it does beg the question of, and this is sort of something, again, I want to go back to something that Mark had said. He said that, they hunt where they are allowed, or where they're the places that they are given. Who gave them these places? I mean, that's a great question. Who gave them these places? I go back to the Shahadim were considered local. We would call them demons. The Hebrew theologically considered them demonic entities, but to the people who worship them, they were local gods. And if we go back to the Old Testament Elohim, right? There's the Elohim, there's the God, but the Elohim does not mean God in the way we mean God. For them, it's more like spirit. Like it would be like saying the Great Spirit, right?
Right.
And so, that's a.
But
the idea of local. So my whole point is localized smaller G gods could be the Shahadim.
Right.
So and again, why is it that all these little gods are worshipped with human sacrifices?
Well, let me hit you with this.
Please do.
What
I haven't been hit often enough.
Okay, let's say somebody's investigating Bigfoot out there. Okay. Yep. What are they wishing for?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Somebody's investigating the cemetery. What are they flat out asking for?
Exactly.
So you don't have to ask the question, who gave this area to these things?
Mm-hmm.
It's given. Yeah. It's given almost every time somebody shows up and is curious and breaks out a Ouija board, or breaks out sacrifices chickens, or any of that. This area has been blasted wide open with a neon sign at the door that says, "Come on in." Look at all the body dumping. Look at all the murders. Look at all. I mean, the list goes on.
So this becomes the question. So this does become the question then: chicken or egg?
Did we give it to them? They came in, and because they're there, that's why you have the body dumping. That's why you got the murders. That's why,
Right.
or that's why you got the people bringing the Ouija boards. Or was it just that, or was it all the body dumping and the Ouija boards that made it that place? So it's chicken or the egg. That's sort of the question. Because what if it's both? Because let's go back to the Old Alton Bridge in Denton, right? Even if there were no Satanists worshiping there before the myth, they are certainly there after. And again, there's a creature that dude ran across. Hold on. Hold on. Let's see. I know you're holding. Please hold. All right. Page 44. This is the Copper Canyon creature. Literally, that creature was seen less than half a mile from Old Alton Bridge on Copper Canyon, which is literally the road that leads you to that bridge.
Right.
Now, tell me, by the way, this is page 44 of Metroplex Monsters, available in Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. If I don't, who doesn't? But it really does beg that question, because, like, again, I talked about the goat man of White Rock Lake. That's coming up a lot, because I you know what, if you'd asked me on this whole journey would I be caring about the goat man of White Rock Lake, I'd have been like, you are out of your mind. Why would I care about that's a stupid urban legend? And yet I've got stories. And here's the weird thing, right? The thing I just showed you seems eerily reminiscent of things that were seen in and around the White Rock Lake area.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I'm thumbing through your book.
Yeah.
And your quote unquote dream, vision, whatever that night was three creatures kind of looked like they were made of fire or lava.
Yeah. Well, that's supposed to be a Bigfoot with mange.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's what the way you described it. That's kind of what I was seeing.
Right. I can see. So here's my thing. I didn't see them like with. All right. You know what? I haven't done this in a while. Text, you talk.
Okay.
I honestly haven't done this in a while. So we're gonna draw an air. I didn't see him like that. This is not going to make sense to anyone except for you, Tex. Do you remember Zax from Marvel Comics, the Hulk villain? It was kind of like that. Hold on. So it wasn't like, so I didn't see things like a nose and mouth and things like that. They were more like, broad shapes. And they didn't illuminate necessarily anything. It felt like these were creatures. Hold on.
But, and it's like what we've seen across the fire, they're basically they're humanoid looking shadows.
Yeah, exactly.
The image that I've got on, that's standing back in the trees by the cemetery. What is it?
Exactly.
So it's what did they see, standing in front of my truck? What did they see run by my truck?
Right, exactly.
What did they see, in that tree line? What did Gary and Junior and Senior see in that tree line?
What did they see in the tree?
Yeah. They did say that looked like a cat, though.
Right, they did, which is why, again, is it possible that there was a big cat there also? Maybe. But that does feel a little odd, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know. You're the big cat component that I've got a tiger hunting me up there.
Well, I'll be honest. I think the tiger is kind of out the window now. That's only because we've got some sort of a weird demon thing hunting you now. Congratulations, you're moving up in the world. Gene, no, I was not. Well, here's the thing. I don't think I was remote viewing per se. I certainly wasn't trying to. I think I was half asleep, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a vision either. People in dream states can, God gives people visions in dreams as well. So give me a second here.
MH brings up a pretty good point. What about the fire do you think makes them visible?
I don't know that. Well, again, if I saw them, it wasn't with my eyes.
Right.
I mean, guys, let's be honest here. Look how thick that lens is. Like, I am basically blind. I really am basically blind without my glasses. So if they were visible, I don't necessarily think it was because of my eyesight, right? I think I saw something, and these creatures seem to be made out of fire.
Gene says maybe Tech should be asking not what they seen, but what seen them.
Yeah.
He said, I'm not feeling good about this, and I don't feel good about the Florida stuff either.
Yeah.
Well, and I was talking to Ranger X, and he brought up a very good point. A lot of this stuff is very Skinwalker Ranch-esque.
Yeah. Which, again, does ask a lot of questions, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But it's without all the UFO stuff.
Well, but people have seen UFOs in that area.
Excuse me. They have. We haven't. Well, we don't know if I saw a little tiny red light, but I don't know what that was.
Right, exactly. But I don't know. I look back, I read that word Therion, and it is stuck in my head for a long time. I just, what does that mean? Like, it seems so odd. And the thing is, when you research Islamic eschatology, right? Basically, right. Islamic eschatology is just the reverse of Christian eschatology. But I would argue that's but Islam itself is. Islam is a copy off of it. They make the good guys the bad guys and the bad guys the good guys, right? Our Antichrist is their Messiah. That's that really is part of the deal. But they claim in their eschatology, right, that their Isa ibn Miriam, which is supposed to be our Jesus, when he returns, again, false prophet, right? He's going to mark everyone with the signet ring of Solomon on the forehead and right hand, all the true Muslims, and then he's going to be aided by the beasts of the earth that even Islamic scholars will tell you are these hairy creatures that will come out of the abyss.
Jean asked a question. She says, my big question is, does the Browns do Brown Springs run on a ley line? Ley lines are very abundant in that area, but ley lines move. A lot of people don't realize that. So that could be another thing that's a possibility of triggering, light activity or increased activity.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. What's the objective marker for a ley line?
Right.
I mean, does anyone have a ley linometer? I don't think so.
Well, you can actually go on it's NOAA's website, and they track them.
NOAA, the government?
Yeah. Yes.
They track ley lines.
Yes.
And they call them ley lines?
Yes. They have a ley line map. And
that is more like what I saw. Here, let me make it larger. Hold on a second. I'm going to remove text for just a sec. Or, well, hold on. Let me see if I can make me larger.
There you go.
There we go. Now, imagine this part in here all like you know how lava, like with the very top thing is, just like sort of like that. And then the stuff on the outside is more like that's live, active lava.
Gotcha.
Or like that's sort of how I saw it.
Gotcha. Okay. That's pretty much what I had in mind. I mean, the cool and hot part of lava is what they look like, you know.
Yeah. But again, like I didn't see like faces, just more they were humanoid shapes with
Man, guys, I'm sorry. Me and Rob,
we've come to the end. So
me and Rob did spaced out radio last night.
Yeah.
And then
how was that, by the way?
It was fun. We had a really good time. Really good show. Everybody seemed to like it. And then we got up and we did brunch with Bigfoot today, and I got to go to work in the morning. And
no, go to bed, man. Go to bed. Like I said, we're done. We've hit the 8 o'clock hour, or 8:30 hour. Thank you for coming on. Like I said, I just so much of this was in my head. I think the big thing to for my takeaway and our takeaway, right? Obviously we all believe the supernatural is real. We all believe that these creatures are out, that the supernatural is interacting with us in a more profound way than maybe it has in the past.
Right.
Because things are becoming more real. But I think I think that is the big takeaway, is this stuff is becoming more real. And maybe here's the big question. Maybe it's not becoming more real. We're just hearing about it now.
Right.
Think about it. How much of this stuff we wouldn't have known any of this?
No.
20, 30 years ago. Any of it at all.
We didn't have the open communication lines that we do.
How many people have died in the same situation Mark Barton was in?
Right.
Like these are questions we need to start asking. And I think we need to start taking this a lot more seriously than I think people have in the past. And I think we need to be that voice that says, hey guys, playing with this stuff is dangerous. You need to realize this isn't a game. I know they sell Ouija boards to kids, but I'm telling you, this stuff is real.
But there has to be those of us that are willing to get down in the mud and roll around with these critters.
Yeah.
There has to be.
Well, that's the other side of that coin. We do need to say that. Again, not to live in fear, but also to understand. Again, you don't need to be afraid of a cottonmouth, but you do need to know where it is. You need to know how to handle it.
Yeah, you need to respect it.
Yep. So anyway, like I said, next week we'll get back on track. But we've been thinking about some things, and I think it's every once in a while it's good to stop and actually have a different conversation. We can have a different conversation on this channel than we can on Mondays. So so y'all, guys, we appreciate y'all. I'll be here no matter what happens. I'll be here live 7 o'clock on Saturday. And it like I said, I'll either be alone or I'll have some friends back me. If it's me, we'll just answer questions and hang out. Mr. D-Knuckle, I would argue that a pterosaur is not a cockatrix, but a cockatrice is a dragon and it is a theropod. We'll talk about that on Saturday. How about that? No matter what happens, we'll have that conversation. So,
and the 13th, guys, the 13th meeting is going to be on What the Paranormal.
Yes, on the 13th. That is Tuesday, right? Let me check the calendar. Hold on. And actually, that's a great point. Hold on. That's 13th is Thursday. That's next Thursday. So yes, thank you for reminding me. So yes, so next Thursday, actually, we will not be here. We'll be over at What the Paranormal, and then the following up, we'll talk about the sin of Ham, because I know y'all want to hear about Ham getting weird. So, but we'll be back to our normal schedule broadcast tradition then.
Same
So,
bat
guys,
time, same bat channel.
same bat time, same bat channel. Y'all behave. Tex, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having
The
me.
rest of y'all, just stay blessed. Let's remember Alan in both our prayers, and if you do have an extra $5 hanging around, PayPal me. I'll send it over to him. And let's keep all of our fellow viewers, both live and those who watch in replay, in our prayers. It's a dangerous world out there, as we've been discussing, even more dangerous than we realize sometimes. Let's keep each other in prayer. Good night, y'all.
Yeah.